All right, we're going to talk about a periodic function. And a periodic function is when you can add some constant p to the input. And when you shove that input, the original input into the function like this over here, or the input when you have added that constant to it, you're going to get the same output. So in trig functions, your input is always an angle. Your output is a ratio. So there's some constant that I could add to the angle where the output doesn't change. All right, so that's a periodic function. And then when we talk about the period of the function, it's when does that happen as far as when does it repeat? So when does it go through one whole complete cycle without repeating a pattern, but then as soon as it begins to start that new pattern, what is that? What is that time period? And that's called a period. All right, so we're going to look at this. We have the unit circle over to the right, and then I'm going to actually plot the points so you can see what the graph looks like. So we're just looking at the sine values. So again, the unit circle spits out the sine values for us. So we got that. So far, we're starting at 0. We're getting closer and closer and closer to 1. And then we go back down. So we're 0.9 approximately, 0.7 approximately, 0.5, and then to 0. And then we hit some negatives. So negative 0.5, approximately negative 0.7, approximately negative 0.9, and then negative 1. And then we start to get less negative, so negative 0.9 approximately, negative 0.7, negative half, and then eventually we get back to 0. All right, so I'm going to plot these points so you can see what's happening here. All right, so this is 1 up here, and this is negative 1. So our sine starts at 0, and I'm just going to jump all the way up to pi over 2. So obviously there's points in between here, like 0.5. So I could, put something at 0.5 at a 30 degree, so I'd have to know that. I could do at pi over 4, I could put 0.7 on there, but I'm just going to jump. So we have 0, and then at pi over 2, we have 1, so we're getting, again, closer and closer to 1. Then at pi, we get back to 0. So what's happened is, and again, halfway we are at like 0.7. So we're going up and up and up, and then we're going back down, 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 down. And then if you come over here, we're at 0. Then we're going closer to negative 1, and then we're heading back up to 0 again, okay? So I'm just plotting these 5, what we call the 5 key points, here, 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 and then again repeating this guy. But the reason I'm doing that is because you can see that it's getting closer and closer to 1, equals 1, then starts coming down towards 0, then it starts coming down to a negative 1, then it starts coming back up to 0, and that's when it repeats. That's when that pattern repeats. So what we say is that the period for sine function is 2 pi, because it takes all of that, it goes from mid, high, mid, low, mid before it repeats. So once I hit this point, I know it's going to do the exact same thing again if I could draw, and then it's going to do the exact same thing again. Every time I hit 2 pi, it's going to do that exact same thing, and that's called the period. All right, let me scroll down just a second, and let's talk about the period of other functions. So cosine function is going to do the exact same thing. It's going to look a little bit different. All right, so if I were to graph the cosine function, here's 1, here's negative 1, and again, we tend to just graph like pi over 2, pi, what is that, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. All right, so if I look at the unit circle for the cosine function, I start out here, which is 1, 0. Then we go over here, which is what, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. All right, so cosine is your x values. So the cosine starts out at 1. And then again, we have all these values in the middle. That's fine. I'm just not going to plot them right now. Then I go towards 0 here. Then I come over here and I get a negative 1. And then I come back to 0. And then I come back up here. All right, so this guy, and again, like at pi over 2, we'd at 0.7. So, and all our halves, and they're all in there. All right, now notice the cosine function starts out high, mid, low, mid, high to get those 5 key points, because remember we count this guy twice. But it has to do all that before it repeats. So again, the period of this one is the same. It's 2 pi, because before it starts repeating, we have a distance from 0 to 2 pi. And then at that point, it repeats. So at that point, again, I could go, okay, it's going to go high, mid, low, right? And then mid, high, and I can keep going. So cosine is also 2 pi. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Let's keep going. All right. So then we get cosecant and secant. All right. Because they have, oh, I guess, I don't know how to say this. They're reciprocal functions of the cosine function and the sine function. These guys are also going to be 2 pi. We'll graph them another time so you can see them. All right. And then we have tangent and cotangent. And I think I'm going to stop there and make another video.